These projectors made millions of dollars in the past several years. They didn't do it because they came from millions. They didn't do it because they had a bunch of money to invest. One was a farmer, one was a school teacher. Both of them knew about their human design, and in today's video they share how they use their human design to make millions. I wonder how they did it. I wonder who that is. Oh, hey there, projector. Welcome to the Projector Playlist. In today's video, we are exploring material success and how to run a successful business for the projector. Oh, and if we haven't met, I'm Karen, the Human Design channel. Welcome. First, I want to show you something. This is a bottle of honey. I bought it here in Havana. And it's so funny because here in Havana, you buy the honey at the Evangelical Bible store. That's where they sell this most incredible honey. And truly, like, this is the most delicious honey that I have ever had in my entire life. Like, I feel like when I taste this, I just get transported to a field full of flowers and fairies and beautiful green and pure, people just joyously working with the bees. And like, I don't even know how they make this, but it's so freaking good. Here it is in a plastic bottle, and I'll get back to how this is relevant later. So let's start by hearing about how Pilar made millions. This is quite an interesting story. Pilar was a farmer, and I think she worked also as a marijuana harvester and picker, and she was like connecting with the plants, and she loved her little life. And then she decided to, she basically was called by the plants and by her environment, and almost like forced by destiny to start a business. And she started doing readings, and I think she was doing them for like $50-ish. It was either 40 or 60, I can't remember. And she did that for quite a while, and then she kind of got the impulse and the knowing and like the invitation that it had to go up. So now, since she started her business in 2018, she has now made $2.5 million. Her highest year was $800,000, which is $66,000 a month. Can you imagine? She employs 3 people, and let's hear from her about how this all unfolded and what was really the secret behind her making millions as a projector.
I'm going to answer this a couple different ways. The first is that success was not the thing I ever centered or sought. What has always been centered for me is being on my path and being as much of myself as I can be, being as embodied in myself as I can be, and being on that was a commitment I had 7 years before my business birthed. My business birthed through that commitment because it was part of the path, not because I wanted a business or wanted to be a successful online business owner. The way I've always done business has been to not listen or pay attention to what anyone else is doing and stay really tuned in with my energy, where I'm at, being really, really honest with myself, especially in the beginning, working within my bandwidth and what I was being asked to do. And that style is still today. When I was starting, I think I already had cultivated a lot of value in my gifts and myself. There was obviously insecurities, fear, and things that come with that came up when I was asked to like step out of my hermit's cave and be online, which was like very, very foreign to me at the time. This isn't the traditional answer, but I had decades of communing with my guides and my ancestors and the earth, and just being shown who I was and what I had to share. And people will ask me questions like this, and I always say things like, well, I'm resourced into something that's not finite. Like I don't resource, I'll resource into the finite. So like a way that might look is I might resource into a friend and ask for a reflection, but I know that that's finite and totally inconsistent, in the sense that I can't expect friends to constantly be validating me. What if they're in a bad mood that day? The first place I've always gone to for validation is the unseen, is things that are so much faster than me. My mom is my like number one spirit guide and ancestor, and she's like the first place I'll go when I want to resource into something beyond me. So that had already been in motion for a really long time. So there wasn't necessarily a lot of questioning that there was value in my gifts, but it was more so working out how to be in like in capitalism, which is what entrepreneurs are functioning in, is a capitalistic society, and to be like in the online matrix and like be in there and like do things in it, but not get swallowed by it. So the way that manifested was out the gate, baby steps, like complete baby steps. And it was really easy for me. And I think this is very true for non-sacrals. It was really easy for me to recognize when the exchange was not feeding me, when the price needed to go up, when the time needed to be shortened. And the thing I'll add in here too is the way I approached business, it wasn't very different from how I had been approaching life before my business. So I would let the business reflect to me like, oh, I need to work on my boundaries there, or, oh, I'm being a little messy here, or, oh, that's interesting, I'm not being super clear about this, I'm a little shaky, and just constantly letting the business reflect that stuff back to me. But I think the reason I was able to move so quickly and make quick adjustments is because I wasn't new to self-inquiry, healing, energy work. That was all like my stuff. And then there was just a business and I got to work on it through that. So with like the nuts and bolts piece, I always just let those be reflected back to me through my connection to the energy itself and through what reality was showing me. So when I first birthed my business, I remember I was giving $60 readings, and I probably did like 40 or 50 of those, or maybe more. Even though I knew I could have charged more, I felt in my system and in my capacity, like I could feel in my body, do this, gain confidence. You will know when it's time to move up. Don't just like blast through it without gaining the confidence that comes from these low priced readings. That sort of formula is still, well, I don't want to say it's still where I'm at today, but the way I would explain it is that style of relating to my business is what carried me on and on. And when I say I would let reality show me what was going on. So in my business, what would happen is, true to being a projector, I would literally get invited into the next step. And at first that was actually coming through clients and people inviting me, but eventually I didn't even need it from them because I was just getting it from my guides. Like I already knew the next step. And in the beginning, what would happen is I would kind of know it. I wouldn't be so sure. And I'd have like 10 people show up and reflect it to me. Like a couple times my prices rose because people were like, this is ridiculous. Like your price needs to go up. But when that would happen, there would always be this check-in of like, is my energy behind that? Am I ready for that? But I always was sort of invited into the next iteration. And then to make this even more complex answer, the way I like to teach how I structure and organize my business is that I don't outsource it horizontally. So I don't look at what other people are doing and I don't ask other people how I should structure my business. Like I am the last person who would go to someone and be like, what do you do for this? And then just immediately do what they do. I like am so, I don't want to say against that, but like I think that that is a style of running our energy that is going to become obsolete for a lot of people in the next like 10 to 15 years, at least in these spaces. I call it like horizontal outsourcing, where it's like, oh, this person's successful. How do they structure their program? I'm going to do what they're doing versus I'm going to tune into the energy of my program. I'm going to be so connected to the spirit of it that I'm going to allow that connection to reveal to me next steps. And that could be somebody comes along and goes, have you thought about this? But that's going to feel completely different than scrambling because there's no grounding around the connection and just filling it with what other people are doing. So the nuts and bolts piece has, for me, has always come from that versus like, what's the best way to do this, or how should I price this based on what other people are pricing. And I joke, but this isn't really a joke. I know that plays a part into why things always work for me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's like a huge question with so many facets.
Yeah. Yes, it's a great answer. The next woman that we're hearing from, Amy Elizabeth, she was a school teacher, Canadian school teacher, making $68,000 a year. She has kids. She went through a divorce and became essentially a single mom, taking care of her kids. And she started her business and she made $245,000 in her first year, $1 million in her second year, and she's made about $2 million or more every single year since then. Let's hear from her. As a business owner, like, you have to take the cues and then create an offering. So it's like you are, in a way, it seems like you're initiating, but in fact, you're seeing life is showing you a pathway forward.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people too, again, like there's so much overlap in designs, right? That could be seen as responding to something. But when I look at it, I've had really tangible, like, are you going to do a retreat? When are you? Can we? Right. And then these bigger, like, vision ones of like just seeing it everywhere and me being like, why am I not, acting on this yet? And it is that step forward. Yeah. And I think a lot of, projectors, when they come into human design and really understand and finally are validated and the desire to be seen and heard and understood, it's this success comes with that because you get to be seen and heard. But I think the being seen and heard on your terms and the way that you want to do it is the most difficult for projectors to actually embody, right? I could go out there and I could be seen and I could be heard for anything and everything, but ultimately it wouldn't be that same sense of success for you until you're fully seen with your passions, your gifts, your desires, your wants in the way and the vision and the image that you see.
Final projector I want to feature today is Victoria Jane, and she has a successful online business as well, doing human design. I don't think she's made millions, but I want to share with you what she shared because she's still doing very well, and her answer is basically the same as the other two. And this will bring us all back around to the main point of this video and why the honey matters in a moment.
There's what human design proposes, which is you got your unique set of energy and traits and characteristics. You didn't consciously pick them, and actually fully inhabiting what you got, the costume you got handed, that is the key to your unique path, which is not going to be something that like your little human mind can come up with, right? So I start with that to say, like, for myself as a projector with a business and, you know, various versions of the question, like, how did you do it? Like, how did you do it only working 4 hours a day? How did you do it while honoring your energy and your design? Whatever, you know, all that whole sort of category. Like, there's a level at which, like, sure, the human me was like, I'm gonna like do these things this quarter. Like, I want to like start a podcast. But when I zoom out, it's like how it actually unfolded had nothing to do with me. Like, when I got started, there was someone who happened to be like a fourth line in my network who was hugely supportive. And like, I didn't choose for her to be there. I actually knew her from like the health issues that I had had, which I didn't choose either. Needing to honor my energy wasn't really a choice. I mean, it was healing from this, like, you know, hormonal, endocrine, like chronic illness stuff. So like, if it were up to me and my health was at a point where I could have worked more, the me then would have pushed harder. Let's just put it that way. So I was forced to do that. Each of the things I was doing in the moment were a function of my context and my situation, which each of us has that's specific to our context and situation.
Okay, so I want to talk about this honey now. So this honey is the best honey I've ever tried. It is so delicious. In my opinion, it is extremely valuable and beautiful. Now, if you are honey, you go well on toast with butter. You go well in a ginger tea. You go well just like a little taste on your own. There's a specific way that honey is meant to be used. It has particular properties. It's sweet, it's sticky, it's liquidy. So depending on the properties of the thing, that has an inevitable consequence on how that thing is then brought into the marketplace. And, you know, in this case, this honey is, I feel like, undervalued because it's not really packaged in a way that highlights the quality of what it truly is. Like, the quality inside of what this is so much better than this reused plastic water bottle that it's packaged in. So the packaging isn't like a proper representation to the actual quality of what it is. So the point of what I'm saying is, every single projector in this video talked about alignment. They knew what they were. They knew the properties that they had to share. They discovered they were honey. They discovered they were green tea. They discovered they were black chocolate. Like, they figured out what they were, and then they found a way to bring it into the world. Now, what they didn't share about in today's video is, I know that every single person in today's video is really good at branding and marketing and sales. So there are practical pieces that they learned or that they somehow already knew. Either one, I'm not sure, I didn't ask them, but I know Amy Elizabeth has a really powerful business mentor, and I know Pilar has studied business as well, but she's found her own way to do it in her way. The point of what I'm saying is, it does matter how you present your work, and learning to create a personal brand is really, really powerful. I do have a brand clarity offering that if you want to learn more about how to create a powerful personal brand, that is below. And also, in my process, I help you discover exactly who you are, which is like the equivalent of figuring out if you're honey or green tea or dark chocolate, and then how to actually present that to the world in a way that values it. So I think human design is about alignment, and that's the point of this video, is like, what is it that you have inside to share? And then really aligning with that and releasing any conditioning that would stop you from presenting that into the world in the best way possible that accurately depicts the quality of who and what you are. Let us know in the comments below what your personal experience with this is, and if you like this video, give it a like. I look forward to seeing you in the other videos in the Projector playlist, which you can check out over here. And feel free to book a reading with me to help you discover exactly who you are, what you're here for, and how to present it into the world.